tonight we hope to show everybody what the new TI-Nspire app for iPad looks like. And so we will be going through some general information as to how we're going to run things for the next hour. But then more specifically, we will try to show some beginner type of things for all the various applications, because we realize that there's lots of different groups that are listening right now. There might be people that are new to Nspire, people new to the iPad, not new to anything, or you know, so we're going to try to hit everybody. So hopefully everybody will learn and see what a great app that this can be for the classroom. And then finally we'll learn about some free online resources as well.
Thanks, Judy. And Ray is going to discuss our expected outcomes. Ray?
So a few of the things we're hoping that you'll take away from this webinar will be that you'll understand how the new TI-Nspire app for iPad compares with other Nspire products, such as the student software and handheld devices. There's a great camera feature on the iPad that certainly is not available on the other devices, so we're going to illustrate how to use that. And a few other apps, such as list and spreadsheets, and also we'll talk a little bit about how to stay in touch with social media and some upcoming events to get further training and learn a little bit more about this.
Great. Well, without further ado, Ray, can you share your desktop and let's check out the TI-Nspire app for iPad. And as Ray is doing that, you'll notice that that right section of your screen, which had the Q&A window and the chat window, that moved underneath that green floating toolbar. So if Ray or Judy is presenting something and you have a question or a comment, or you want to respond to maybe some of the questions that Judy or Ray are asking, please do so using the chat or maybe the Q&A windows. Judy, it's all yours. All
right. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, just a couple of pieces of general information that we've already gotten questions about is if you do have an iPad and you do want to download this from iTunes, there have been some questions about, well, shall we get the numeric one or shall I get the CAS app? And tonight, most of the things we're going to go through tonight are on the numeric, but they are a separate download and a separate cost. So that would kind of depend on the situation in your own classroom. You know, are you possibly using the CAS machines now, or is that something that you hope to? So again, that's something that you'll have to decide on. As we mentioned, we're going to show how it is very similar to the student software. And the thing that you're not going to be able to see tonight is we're going to be, you know, always constantly using our fingers to touch the screen, because that's the greatest part about this, is that it is a touch screen. And so we're going to try to give you sort of a play-by-play as to what we are doing with our fingers. And sometimes we're going to be using our mouse to point to things as well, because those of you that have had a little bit of experience with the iPad, you know that it's all about tapping. You know, we have one tap, two tap, tap and hold. You know, it kind of sounds like Dancing with the Stars sometimes. And whoever said that math and science weren't fun, we're crazy. But anyway, hopefully that as we're going through and sort of saying, all right, now we are tapping, now we are double tapping, when you go back and listen to the recording, you will be able to go through and say, okay, how did they do that? And so what we're going to do tonight is, this is Ray's iPad, and we're using some software for him to be able to project this. And for my part, I will be telling him exactly what to do, so then that way you guys also can tell exactly what he is doing. Now, because of the large number of people we have, it's difficult to get a lot of interaction, but we really encourage you to have that chat window open, as Mike said, and have that Q&A window open, because every so often we will ask you either to chat an answer or chat a comment, you know, as to what you think of this, or, you know, how could you use it in the classroom? and just about anything. So please keep those maybe open on the right side of your screen. All right, so Ray's already opened up the app, and I'm going to talk about the home screen a little bit. The home screen is where basically the organization of all your files and activities. And as you can see on here there's a math folder, a science folder, and some other things that Ray has already downloaded. And for some of you, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as we go along too, you may see a blue Dropbox folder. And a Dropbox is a way that we can manage the files of getting things to our iPad or sending things from our iPad. But again, we'll kind of discuss that as we go. So what I'm going to ask Ray to do is to tap, we're going to go from right to left. So at the top toolbar there, I'm going to ask Ray to tap on where he's pointing the cursor. I'm going to ask him to point or to tap on that little arrow first. Yep, right there. And again, that's part of that management of files, which we'll talk a little bit more later. And then, Ray, if you could tap on the wrench to the left. All right, this is called the settings of the home screen. And we're not going to go through all of this tonight, but just so you have an idea of what it's about. All right, Ray, if you could go ahead and tap on the right arrow there under Guided Tour. The first time you start the app, this guided tour will start for you. And basically what it does is it shows you a few important things about the app. Now, we're going to skip that tour for tonight, but I wanted you to see where it was, so anytime you can go back. So, and then we're not going to tap on the online help because that'll do just exactly as it says, but there is lots of resources, and we're going to be talking about those resources as we go through the night as well. Preferences, Ray, if you could tap on that. And this is where we can show the libraries folder. So go ahead and just tap on Done or tap out of that. Thank you. And go back to the wrench for a minute, if you would, Ray. And so this is the reason that Ray's blue Dropbox folder was not showing on the screen, is because he happens to be logged out right now. And again, the About is exactly what that does, is tell you the particular version that we're on and that kind of information. So go ahead and press Done. And now we can use, when we're using the TI-Nspire app for the iPad, we can either have pre-made documents or we can create documents. We can have documents that we created from our teacher software. So there's lots of ways for all of those things to interact. But for right now, we're going to start a new document. So Ray, if you could tap the plus sign. And when he does that, you're going to see all of the applications, most of the applications that we've had before. And for right now, we are going to add a graphs app. So he's going to tap on the graphs, and the first thing that comes up is a keyboard. Now, just for a second here, let's kind of take a look at this keyboard for those of you that haven't seen it. This is called the Nspire keyboard. And if you notice, and Ray's going to get into this a little bit more when he's doing the calculator part, but we've got lots of operations, and again, if you kind of take a look at it, and then Ray, if you could also tap on the ABC, and there's our regular iPad keyboard. So you can go back and forth between those, and so anytime you need one or the other, you can do that. So if you could tap back on the Nspire. Now, because we opened up a graphing window or graphing app, the cursor is now prepared for us to type something in. So Ray, let's just do something simple like a linear equation, x plus 3. and then as soon as he taps enter, you know, there's our graph. Now, one of the real strengths of any of the devices of Nspire is the fact that we can transform this function. And so what Ray is going to do now is he is going to transform this by tapping and holding. So Ray, if you could go to the graph, and now he's using the translate of just dragging it around, and just like on the handhelds or on the software, if he goes more towards the end of it, he's going to be able to rotate it. And again, he's doing this with just his fingers. All right, so here's my question for all of you out there. So I'd like for you to have your chat window ready. I'm going to have Ray tap on that wrench-looking thing, and what I would like people to chat the answer is, what is that equivalent to on the handheld? So go ahead and chat your answers to me. There we go. Now they're coming in. That's exactly right. All right, it is equivalent to the menu key on your handhelds. And again, if you take a look at this, you're going to see all of those of you that have some Nspire experience, you're going to see all the things that you know and love. Okay, one question that I'm seeing on the chat is, a person is asking is, how did he get the y-intercept to change again? So Ray, could you just tap on the anywhere on your screen and now change that y-intercept again? So what he's doing, he's going to go towards the middle of the graph, you know, or around the axis area, and that's how he's getting the y-intercept to change. So right where he's got his cursor at too. Great. All right. So again, we can transform that function by the one finger tap and drag. Now, another thing that we can do is, Ray, I would like you to tap on the line and select it. So he's going to kind of tap and hold, and now the particular object is blinking. And that means that it is selected. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go up to what is called the Attributes Inspector, which is the icon right next to the wrench. So Attributes Inspector is kind of a hip name. And depending on the object that we have picked, you can decide right here, you can make all kinds of changes. So Ray, go ahead and just make any changes here that you want to, with line color, with thickness of the line, with the label style, and again, any other, and again, this particular window would look different depending on the object. All right, so Ray, we've got a good looking graph there. Now what I'd like you to do, Ray, is to add another graph. And so what you're going to do is you're going to tap that plus sign on the top of the light blue, and it opens up ready for us to type in our second function. So let's type in something like x squared plus 10. And tap enter. And this, of course, is always a good question to ask students, is to why am I not seeing the graph? And of course, as math teachers, as science teachers, we all know because it has something to do with the window settings. And in our math classes, we would definitely go through and have that discussion with kids as to, all right, what do we need to do? Why aren't we seeing the graphs and so forth? But for right now, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take the quick way, and I really want to take this screen and I want to either, depending on the situation, I either want to zoom in or zoom out. So here's another place for people to chat. How, on the iPad, how can I zoom in or zoom out? Send me your response. Okay, I just pinch 2 fingers, pinch 2 fingers. Okay, great. So we've got all those coming in. So Ray, there we go. So Ray is just, and now we finally, after enough pinching in there, we can see our graph. So a lot of the same iPad gestures are going to work, and some of it does depend on the app that we're in. I did hear one person respond with a double tap, and a double tap, what a double tap does, again, depends on the particular application. Sometimes it'll open up the entry line, sometimes it'll bring up the keyboard, and so again, the pinching, the 2-finger pinch is always something, and in case, I don't know if anybody asked it or not, but yes, you also have control that if you didn't want to change both the X and the Y. All right, Ray, if you could tap the plus sign again. And now here's another nice feature about the keyboard. Notice that at the top of the keyboard, I have the arrow keys. So Ray, I'd like you to arrow up to either function 1 or function 2. So he's just tapping on the up arrow, either one. And now I want to change this to an inequality. And so if he's just using his arrow keys, and now he's going to hit the delete, tap the delete key. And just like on the handheld, that particular context menu comes up. And now again, he could choose some inequality, tap enter, and there's our inequality. Now that was a quick, very quick look at different things, and we're going to try to kind of take a look at all of these little things as we go through the different apps. But you can add tables. You can, of course, do intersection points and all of the other things that we love to do with graphing. All right. Now, what I'd like you to do now, Ray, if you could add a geometry app. So now he's going to go to the top of this where it says Document 1, and we haven't pointed out all of those icons just yet, but we will as the evening goes on. So he's going to tap the plus sign to add a new page to this document. So let's add a geometry application, which happens to be my favorite. And again, we're going to tap the wrench just to show the various tools that go along with our geometry application. Now, I know a lot of people out there use various forms of dynamic or interactive geometry, and this is just, by this being on the iPad, it is very cool. And so we're going to do a quick little thing here. And so, Ray, if you could choose shapes by tapping on shapes, and then tap on triangle. Now, before we do anything, let's say that I don't know what to do here. If you notice up there in the right-hand corner, Ray's going to tap on that where it says triangle, and it gives the tooltips. So that's always kind of a nice thing to see, too. So go ahead, Ray, and do as it says. Let's tap 3 times, and there's our triangle. Now, once again, if we were to, just because of time's sake, we're not going to do this, but we could fill this, change the attributes of this by, again, using our attributes inspector. We could change the settings, all of the same things that we've done. But let's just do a little bit of an investigation. So, Ray, if you could put some sort of a line down by tapping on the wrench. Now, notice here, too, I'm still in the Shapes menu. So we're going to have to tap the tools to go back, and then tap the points and lines and put a line down. And now we're going to do a little bit of transformation. So Ray, if you could go ahead and go back to the wrench, tap on tools, tap transformation, and then a reflection. And so I want to reflect that triangle across that line. And so he's going to have to, now that the tool is selected, he's going to have to tap on the triangle and then the line. So Ray, go ahead and do that. And then with this very quick little construction, and now Ray, go ahead and just tap and drag some things around. But what we can do, and the reason I wanted to do this one is because the Common Core standards, the approach to congruence is done through transformations. And so one of the Common Cores, again, that deals with congruence says that if we can map two figures to each other by rigid transformations, then we have a congruence. That's kind of a paraphrasing. And so what we could continue to do here is we could measure, we could, see if distances were preserved and all of the other things. Now, one last thing here, and I just wanted to mention this, and this is going to depend on if you have your OS updated and all of that, but Ray, go ahead and tap the wrench if you would for me. And go back to Tools and choose Actions and Text, and then tap anywhere. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up is, yes, we could just type in, some sort of a title here or something like that. But another thing we could do, and this is gonna be another chat question, maybe it's too hard to answer, but I'm gonna ask the iPad users out there, how else besides typing can I get text to go on my screen? Copy paste, all right, that would work. Other ways, Siri, there we go. We can actually, if we use, and again, our time is going a little faster than we had hoped, but we can actually talk our text through, and it will also put the text down. So that's also kind of a fun thing that you may want to try. All right. So let's go ahead and just close the keyboard there, if you would, Ray. And let's add another page. So we're going to go back up to the top, and notice that again we've got the home screen, or the little home button, which would take us back, and the plus sign has been enabling us to add. So let's add another graphs page. And go ahead and close the keyboard if you would, Ray. Now, this is one of the most exciting things, I think, is the portability of the iPad and the built-in camera. So we can either use photos that are already on our iPad, or as Ray's going to show you in a minute, we can use photos that we're going to take. So he's going to go up and he's going to tap on the little camera icon, and we're going to choose Add a Photo. And then let's choose a TI-Nspire photo and just pick one of those. And now, I mean, it's that fast. And then now, of course, we could ask kids to, if you want to go ahead and put in x squared here, Ray. And then we could transform the graph again and try to come up with the particular function that fits the bridge. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to kind of, Ray's going to continue to run this, but he's also going to do more of the talking now, so hopefully I can get to some of the questions. And so take it over, Ray.
Thank you. So Judy mentioned that another way to get a picture in is to actually use the camera in the iPad. And so that's the next thing that I'm going to demonstrate. So I'm going to add another graphs page. And then press the camera icon. But this time, instead of add a photo, I'm going to take a photo. And I've just got this little globe here I got down at NASA. And I'll take a picture of that. Oh, I don't think that one was very good. I'm going to try another one. So take a photo one more time. And I'm going to press this camera icon down at the bottom, just below my globe, and take the picture. And now I think this one will be okay, so I'm going to go with use. And it immediately plops it down into my graphs page. So it's that easy to take pictures and import them into documents. So I can see all kinds of possibilities as we send students out with their iPads to find things in their environment and immediately put them into a document and do some mathematics on them. So I'm going to try and find an equation of this world. And there's a new feature, relatively new in Nspire, that allows us to do conic sections. So I'm going to press the wrench application and change the graph entry edit style by pressing that to equation, and then I'll choose a circle. And then I have two different formats for my equation of the circle. So I'll go with this standard format, the x minus h squared and y minus k squared, by tapping on that. And it puts this template into my function editor line. And now I just need to figure out, maybe with a little trial and error, what those parameters should be. And it looks like that globe is a little off center, so I'm going to try a negative number for the x-coordinate of the center. And now I'm tapping on the next box next to the y, and now I need to figure out the y-coordinate of my center. I'm going to guess it's about 2. And then I'm going to guess the radius, so I tap on that last box, and we'll guess a radius of about 3. And, well, not too bad, but I'd like to fix it a little bit. So now a more kinesthetic approach. What should we do to try and adjust my equation kinesthetically until it fits my world? Right, so touch and slide, baby, that's right. So I can slide it around. This is great. And then I can touch the perimeter of the circle and drag it to change the size. And we see this, this great reinforcement of multiple perspectives. As I transform the circle, I see the parameters in the equation adjust appropriately. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun using this camera feature. Now we're going to try and show you all of the basic apps, so I think we'll move along to the calculator app. And so I'm going to press the plus key again, and let's add a calculator app. And just to show you a few basic calculations that you can perform here, first I can just use this numeric keyboard to do, I'm going to do a fraction computation. So 7/9 plus 5/8. And as I do that, it goes in a one-line format, but as soon as I press enter, this is a beautiful feature of Nspire. You get pretty print so that it looks, the expression looks the same way you'd see it in a textbook or the way you would write it down on paper. Now, instead of using the divide key to get the fraction, I could also use one of the template keys. So we used to access a lot of these template keys in the on the handheld device and in the software by pressing a template key, but now we have individual templates. So to get the fraction, I'm going to press this fraction key, and I want to do 1/2. Now, one thing that's different on the iPad that took a little bit of getting used to for me, on the Nspire, how would I get down to the denominator? How would I cycle through a template on, say, the handheld device or on the software? Right, the tab key. And as you notice, looking around on this, you don't see a tab key. So I'll be using these arrow keys here just above the keypad to negotiate through the template. And then now I need to press the right arrow key to get out of the fraction. And I think I said I'll do 1/2 minus 1/3. And it does the exact result. There's actually a little bit of cast going on here, isn't there? So instead of a decimal approximation, I have the exact answer in fraction form. I'd like to try it again and this time get a decimal approximation. But rather than typing in the whole expression again, you Nspire users, what would we do to just quickly grab that expression and paste it down to this next line? Right, yeah, several people are suggesting arrow up. So I'll press the up arrow key first to the answer and then one more time to the expression. And notice this menu that's up above where I could select copy, or I could delete it, or paste history. And all I'm going to do is just press the enter key, and it will paste that expression again. And now notice the enter key, along with some of the other keys on this keyboard, has a bar above it, which tells me that there's more. And so instead of pressing enter, instead of tapping enter, I'm going to tap and hold enter, and it brings up a sub-menu. And now I don't want to let go of enter. Instead, I'm going to just, while I'm still holding, slide my finger up to the approximately equal key and then let go. So that's how I select that sub-menu and use the approximately equal. So that tap and hold will be a useful feature to access some hidden features on some of these templates. Now we're going to convert this back to a fraction. So I'm going to press the wrench key, this one here, not to be confused with the cog key up here. Those do two different things. But I'll press the wrench key to bring up the menu. And then I think under the number menu, I have this approximate to fraction feature. And notice I didn't even have to tell it what to approximate. It automatically pasted the answer from the previous expression right here. And now as soon as I press enter, it will do its best to convert that back to a fraction. So lots of tempting menus to play with here. Too bad we don't have more time to look at all of them, but perhaps on another night. I'm going to do a little bit of trigonometry and an expression storing a variable, and then we'll move on to another app. But I just wanted to show you, before I do the trigonometry, I want to take, say, the sine of 60 degrees. But if I tap on the cog, the little wheel or the cog key up here, I see that my current setting is radian. But I don't have to change to radian, from radian to degree mode. Instead, I can just do a temporary calculation by just pasting in a degree symbol. Now, one thing you may have noticed was that when I went to check my settings with the cog key, now the keyboard is gone. So iPad users, how do you think, what do I need to do to bring that keyboard back? Right, yeah, so many of you are saying just tap on the screen. And that may not be intuitive if you're a first-time iPad user. So I just tap on the screen and it brings the keyboard back. And now I want to do the sine of 60 degrees. And this key right here with the angle symbol will paste the degree symbol. So even though I'm in radian mode, I just took the sine of 60 degrees. Maybe one last thing I'll do here is store a value in a variable. So I want to store the number 7 in X. So I hit 7, and then I'm holding the var key, and then sliding up to the store, and it gives me that store arrow. Now I could do X, but I'd like to show you if maybe I should have a little bit longer variable. So I'm going to press the ABC keyboard to switch to so that I could type in the name of a variable. So maybe we'll call it XX. And now that variable is stored, and then we could use it in other computations. Say I wanted to do 3 times that variable. notice when I type it in, it goes bold. That tells me that it's been, XX is a stored variable. So I'll do 3 times that. I'm going to go back to the Nspire keyboard to finish this, plus 5. So it's using the value of that variable in another computation. Well, I'm going to close this document out now by pressing the Home key in the upper left-hand corner. So to save a document, we just press that key, and it gives me 2 options. I could either discard this document entirely, or I can keep my changes. And then I can type in the name. Rather than document 1, I could backspace over that and choose my own name. And there's the document we've been playing with stored on my home screen. You can also access lots of other documents. So the next thing we're going to do is retrieve a document from the Math Nspired web page. So I'm going to go to my browser. Then, looks like I've already got a few up here, but I'll just, on my bookmarks, I'm going to go to the Math Nspired web page. And this is a great resource with all kinds of Nspire documents for all levels of mathematics. And there's another web page for science. And there are a few of these that are being updated so that they work more effectively on iPad. And some of them work brilliantly on iPad now. So I'm going to choose middle grades math. And then I'm going to choose functions. And this is one of my favorites. It's called growing patterns. So I'll click on that. And then there are some student documents, PDF and Word format, and teacher documents that we could look at, but we just don't have time. But right now I'm just going to download the TI-Nspire activity just by tapping it. And it asks me what I'd like to open it in. I'll choose Nspire. It's asking me that, I think, because I have both the CAS and the non-CAS apps on my iPad. And there it is. I just got that off of the website. So that was on the website, and now I've got it on my iPad. So I could go to the next page by tapping the thumbnail in the left corner here. And as I press the clicker here, it's adding, notice it added 2 yellow tiles, and it added something in my table and in my graph. Students can just have a lot of fun with this by trying to make the connection between the tiles and the table and the graph. If I double tap on this question mark down here, then I can type in an equation. So the student might think, well, let's see, it was it's going up by 2 every time, so we'll try 2x plus 3. And well, I was off a little bit, so I might want to go back and try it again. I didn't think about the fact that when x was 1, that y was 3. But anyway, do you see how a student could have a lot of fun playing with this document and making those connections between multiple representations?
Also, Ray, some questions that have come up, and I don't think I mentioned it, and hopefully you didn't, is if you want to, Nspire users are so used to doing Control-Z to undo.
Mm-hmm.
So, and showing that.
Thank you. Yeah. So Judy's pointing out the undo feature is up here on that top toolbar. So as I press that, it's undoing everything I just did on that document. Great.
And if you tap and hold it, it's a redo.
Great. And now I'm going back the other way. Terrific. Also, I have to just mention there's also a great science-inspired website. So I'm going to just visit that briefly, and we'll download one document from that. So Science Inspired has all kinds of great possibilities. I'm going to go to, I believe, physical science, and then electricity. So I'm downloading another document off of this website. Currents with DC And this one looked interesting to me. So I'm just going to click on this, and it should download. And as a couple of you pointed out, it's pretty fast. And now I'm opening up this science activity. So I have voltage, some resistors, and it's a simulation. So I can click on these, tap these clickers to change the values of the voltage and the resistance. And then when I tap on this animate key up here, it starts animating. Of course, it's pretty slow because there's so much resistance and so little voltage. So if I increase the voltage, put a 9-volt battery in there, maybe decrease the resistance, then we see the animation speeds up a little bit. And you can add some resistors, and there's a meter over there telling me what the current is. So some fun activities for science as well on this website. So I'm going to exit this one now.
Okay.
And yes.
Ray, one other comment too that people have been asking about. All of the math and science-inspired activities, right now some of them are in the process of being not necessarily rewritten, but kind of revised so that they are now going to be including things for the iPad as well.
Mm-hmm.
But know that if you go and get a file off of Math Nspired, you may not see all of those iPad type things because we're still trying to write them generically so that they still work for all the devices.
Right. If you look at some of these now, let me just go back to that growing patterns. I'm going to download the teacher notes document. And you'll know that it's been updated as you see these icons here. So these are the formats, or the platforms, I mean, where this should work. So this growing pattern should work on the handheld, should work on the computer, on the software, and this is the iPad app. So if you see that iPad app in the documentation, then this one has been updated so that it works well on iPad. All right, well, in just our last few minutes here, I think we still have not looked at the list and spreadsheets and the statistics app, so I'll quickly do that, and then if we've got time, we'll look at a self-check document. So I'm going to add a list and spreadsheet. Now I'd like to put in some data here. I think we'll do the paper folding problem. So if I tap on that, I can put in some values for how many times, say, I fold a piece of paper in half. So we fold it once, twice. These are the number of folds. And then with the iPad gesture I just did, you can drag and slide this to get back to the top of the page. And now I'll put the thickness here. So say if you fold it once, then it would be twice as thick as it originally was. And then it would be 4 times as thick because each time we're doubling. So exponential growth here. And I'm going to name these. So I tapped up here in the next to the A where we can put the name of a list. And I'll call that one fold. So I need to tap on the ABC keyboard to get my iPad keyboard so I can put in some letters from the alphabet. And then over here I'll call this one thickness. And so I think I've got my numeric representation of this. And now if I want to see a visual representation, I pressed on the wrench and then data, and now I'm just going to press on quick graph. And right now it's just giving me a graph of folds. It's just a dot graph, so I'll tap over here on the left side of the screen where it says tap to add a variable. Then I'll add thickness, and then we get our scatter plot. So that's what that really did was inserted a data and statistics page, a split screen, and the second split was a data and statistics page where you can do visual representations of data. And then I think the last thing I want to show you, just real quickly here, is I've got a document here called self-check questions. And this was created using teacher software. So you can create questions, documents with questions on the teacher software, and then download them to the iPad. So students could download these off of your website. Like I've got a wiki page for my students. They could go to that wiki and download these, a document like this, or maybe from Dropbox, and then they could answer the questions. Different types of questions, multiple choice, a vertical line intersects the graph of a function at more than one point. Student might say never. Here's another multiple choice. So they can go through, I'm just blazing through this because we're about out of time. But here's what I think is great. You could put in, I'm going to jump ahead here. You can put in something where a student can type. And it was hard to type on the handheld device, but here with the keyboard, you can ask for questions that take a more significant response, where they could type the whole thing. And then save it. And so I'm going to keep my changes this time. And now we could email this to the teacher. So this icon up here allows us to, ooh, that wasn't it. Where'd my email go, Judy?
Are you tapping?
Yeah, sorry. It was a similar looking icon, but I was in the wrong page. So it's this guy right here, but you have to have the document open, and I closed it a little too soon. Anyway, I could email that and send it to the teacher, and then I could sort them all by subject. I'd probably tell them what subject to put in, collect them all, sort them, and then analyze their results. So I think we have the opportunity for documents that allow students to put more expansive answers than they did with just a handheld with a navigator system.